If you've been on the fence about getting into Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, you've most likely been scouring the internet looking for first impressions and reviews to inform your decision. And in doing so, you've most likely caught an extremely divisive back and forth between a bunch of reviewers, streamers, and content creators that only muddle further with your decision making. And that's where I come in, to muddle it even further. G'day there once again viewers, your mate Kamikaze78 here, and today we're going to be taking a deep dive into the multiplayer for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and unpack everything that is on offer here today, and why it's not everyone's cup of tea. So, as I said, this year's Call of Duty release is extremely divisive. In the last 2 streams that I've run for the game thus far, I've had people from both camps expressing their love or absolute distaste for this game. The Steam reviews tell a very similar story as well. The community is divided. And yeah, there are some big technical problems in the game that I'm sure are affecting those perspectives. For one, there's still rampant crashing problems across a lot of platforms. I've heard that for some, but not for me, there are some optimization issues on the PC side of things, and there's also some weird texture flickering that is close to giving me an epileptic seizure most times I play. But there's also been a lot of commentary surrounding the changes to the core gameplay that the game brings to the table. You know, when the game's operating as it technically should, there's a lot of changes done here to this year's Call of Duty that some like and some dislike. And we're going to focus on those today. I want to start off by saying, out of the gate, I'm having fun with this year's Call of Duty. I actually really am. There are a lot of things that I think have been done right here, and while yes, there are problems that we will talk about just shortly here, I find myself logging in every day since the launch and having a blast and playing the game over and over again until I realized that that one more game that I said I was going to play turned into about 20. So, COD's doing its thing there. But the divisions throughout the community as to whether or not this is a good or bad COD game definitely come from a lot of the core design decisions that have been made. For one, the movement of this game has been significantly grounded. While yes, I'm still jumping around corners in true COD fashion throughout the gameplay you're seeing here, slide cancelling and even bunny hopping are now things of the past in this title. And the gamers out there who have been schmooving around the map at Mach 5 in the last few entries, well, that's not really possible here, and those players are feeling the pain. The game really aims to take a step back in the pace department and slow things right down, forcing you to focus on positioning and aim, and the players that do focus on those things typically win out in this title. I've seen multiple TikToks, YouTube shorts, Twitter threads, you name it, all stating that the movement era of COD is dead. Some are celebrating it, and some are just in absolute shambles over it. And truth be told, they're right, 100% correct. The game's core movement mechanics slow the pace of the game right down to the point when yes, the movement era of COD is dead. And the game as a result plays incredibly differently to what we may be used to. The pace of the game now sort of takes me back to the times of yesteryear, to like what we saw with the original Modern Warfare games. But is that necessarily a bad thing? Well, it's a hard question to answer because I don't think it's an objectively yes or no answer. In my view, the lack of movement mechanics in this game doesn't detract from its quality as an overall product, but I can sure as shit see how some players would feel completely robbed without it. And the reason I say that is because when I come to a Call of Duty game, the things I expect involved tight shooting mechanics, fast-paced action, progression and customization that keeps the good old dopamine drip just constantly going, and of course, dumb moments with friends. And the game still accomplishes all of this despite the nerfs to movement for the most part. Sure, I like to be competitive and frag out as much as the next sweat, and previously that has involved taking advantage of every movement mechanic under the sun. But in all of my time of playing Call of Duty, I've never really personally associated COD with blitzing quick movement mechanics. Games like Titanfall were the games that I associated this from. But on the COD games I grew up with, like Modern Warfare 1, Modern Warfare 2 from yesteryear, again, it was all about grounded warfare in an arcade setting. Sliding wasn't a thing. Bunny hopping wasn't a thing as much. It was a simpler time. Hence my remark about the game's pacing, the current game's pacing, feeling much closer to that of the COD games from yesteryear and a previous generation. And to me, that isn't necessarily a step in the wrong direction, the objectively wrong direction that is, because to me it feels like Infinity Ward is making an attempt to take the franchise a few steps back towards a more grounded pace and playstyle. But to me that still matches what I expect out of a Call of Duty game. You know, I'm still getting all of the main pillars of a COD game that I expect to get out of a release. It's just a different pace to what we're used to seeing over the last couple of releases. And that's going to be a change that is going to leave some people happy and some people disappointed. And I really quickly want to make this little point here too, because I think it's worth pointing out that I don't necessarily think that this change was done so with the intent of overly catering to the casuals or hurting the pro players that could abuse these movement mechanics, because the skill-based matchmaking in the game does everything it can to ensure that those two player groups never cross for longer than 2 matches. No, I think that this was a deliberate design decision that had nothing to do with skill. It had everything to do with the developers wanting to make a slower-paced COD game that was more in touch with some of the older Modern Warfare games. Still arcadey, still its dumb fun self, just less fast. And as gaming has continued to innovate on movement mechanics and increases the potential skill gap that comes from said movement mechanics, it can feel like something has been taken away from the toolkit that has been available previously when, you know, you strip some of those older features out of your game. That stinks. I get it. I understand the criticism that comes from the community there, and it will feel alien and lackluster to some, which is why I felt it would be important to make this point at the very start of the video, because I know that this is the kind of stuff that will make the game or break the game for some people. It needs to be spoken about in a great deal of detail, and it's something that I think you should all consider for yourself in line with the rest of the package that is on offer here to work out if this game is for you or not. But anyway, that's almost 5-ish minutes talking about movement mechanics on their own, so let's move on to some of the other aspects of the game that we have on offer here. First things first, gunplay. Gunplay's a weird one for me in this game, right? Because deep down, I can tell that there's a very tight, responsive, and overall enjoyable gunplay system on offer here in this game. I don't think I've come across a single situation so far where I've said to myself, hey, my bullets should have hit that guy and they didn't, what's going on? And all of the weapons in the game so far have felt incredible to use, they feel responsive, they feel different to one another, and it feels like the armory here that is on offer is complete and relatively enjoyable to use. But what I can't see myself getting over is the goddamn visual recoil in this game, and it really does taint some of the experience for me personally. For those who don't mean what I say here, visual recoil is just the kind of recoil that has your weapon visually bouncing on the screen without actually impacting where your bullets are going. Mechanical recoil is the algorithmic recoil pattern that your weapon will have whenever it's firing. As I said, the visual recoil is just thrown on in there to make your gun feel punchier from an immersion perspective. And while I understand the intent of having it there, and understand that in the campaign mode, for example, it's great to have, in a multiplayer game where clarity of weapon sight and clarity of what you're shooting at is very important to a competitive feel in your game, the visual recoil is just too much here at the moment. There are times where I'm shooting certain weapons in this game where I'm not even looking at the sights of my gun, but instead looking for the visual middle point of my screen and ensuring that my gun lines up with that and where the target approximately is behind my shaking sight to get that kill. Which is unfortunate because deep down, I like the gunplay on offer here. As I said, it feels responsive, it feels good across the board. There's just that one big old problem that kind of taints it a little bit. So I'm hoping Infinity Ward can tone that down a bit to clean up the visual clarity a little bit. However, one thing that I like, no ifs, ands, or buts, is the progression system here. The progression system in Modern Warfare 2 is a real winner for me. Camo grinding is something that is nowhere near as egregious as what it was in Modern Warfare 2019, and the lacking requirement to grind out a new attachment set for every weapon as you unlock it is a very welcome change. To elaborate here, there are attachments that unlock on a per weapon basis, but there are also attachments that are unlocked for the entire platform of weapon that you're using, and also universally for all weapons in the game full stop. This does make the individual grind for each weapon feel a lot less daunting, and attachments that are universal such as sights, some barrel mods, and grips are just there, ready for you to use as you unlock new weapons. It's such a welcome change. And I can only imagine as new weapons become available through the game's ongoing seasons that we will continue to reap the benefits of this approach to the gameplay progression. It does, however, mean, and this is something that's also got the community a little divided, is that you can't unlock all attachments of a weapon just by using one gun. You need to diversify and use a bunch of different guns to unlock everything on offer there. I forget exactly which Twitter account broke this news, but one of the Call of Duty news accounts on Twitter broke that apparently need to grind out 31 different weapons to unlock all of the attachments available to the M4A1. Which, yeah, is a wild amount of weapons to grind out just to get all of the attachments for one gun. But it does keep playstyles varied and encourages a variety of approaches. But it also means that you might be forced to use a weapon that you feel less enthusiastic about. It's a catch-22, but as someone who enjoys a bit of weapon variety in my gameplay, I'm loving the changes. The weapon tuning functionality, while currently offline due to bugs, is a big step in the right direction as well, and I can't wait to spend some more time here really messing with my gear to get the best results. We'll be covering all of that here on the channel in upcoming weapon reviews, so get subscribed if you're keen for that content coming up as well. The maps in the game as well, for the most part, are pretty solid in my opinion. There is one exception to this rule, and everyone who has spent the weekend playing this game knows which map I'm going to be talking about. It's the bloody Santa Cena border crossing. This chaotic map that is just filled with a ton of cars feels like the passion project of an intern that just joined the Infinity Ward team during the game's development. And this map really plays quite horribly. I'm not exactly sure how this map got greenlit, to be honest, but it just feels like a really terrible map to get a read on your opponents with due to the wide variety of angles that you need to watch and the bloody exploding cars that are just littered everywhere. The map feels like a minefield, not like an actual Call of Duty map. And also the museum map from the beta is completely missing, which was a bit of a shock, but I didn't really like that map anyway too much, so no skin off my nose. Obviously, this is the best the series has looked and sounded so far, which is to be expected. That's nothing really new there, as games, continue releasing. Hopefully their graphics keep getting better, and it has done here. And overall, most importantly, I'm having fun. Yes, there's been a lot of problems over the launch weekend, but I'm having fun in this game, there's no denying that. The game is not perfect, and it's probably not the smoothest release we've ever seen in Call of Duty's history, but goddammit, I'm having fun playing Call of Duty again. There is one more big old can of worms that I haven't talked about here in this video, and that is skill-based matchmaking. But that's something I want to do a dedicated video for, because if I'm going to open that can of worms, I want to do it with enough time on my hands to really get a conversation out there without stretching out a video to 20 minutes long. So let's return to that in the next one. With all that said though guys, if you enjoyed today's video, be sure to backhand the like button. It does go a long way to supporting the channel. And if you're new here, get subscribed, because yes, we're going to be doing a lot of Modern Warfare 2 content in the near future. And also Warzone 2 content when that comes out as well. Leave a comment down below with your thoughts on the game so far. You enjoying it? Do you despise it? What are your thoughts? Let us know. And as always, my social media links are linked down below in the description. Once again guys, I hope you enjoyed today's video. Peace out, and I will see you guys all in the next one. Take care guys, have a good one.